living in a first world country like the USA is an incredibly privileged experience. And I think we all know this. The best life anybody could have is living in a country like the USA, Canada, the UK, some places in Europe, Japan. These countries allow you the opportunity to live a life of cushiness, to live a life off of survival mode. Just purely gives you the opportunity to have a much easier life, because life is going to be hard no matter what. But to live in an area that's fairly forgiving and gives you incredible conveniences, technically your life is just that much better. And what I want to talk about today is the incredible ungrateful attitude and entitled attitude of the left, which I will just refer to as the West today, and the fact that they hate this country and they don't appreciate the fact that they are living in the closest you'll probably ever get to a utopia. Because not only is this country the greatest country you could ever live in, the easiest country you could ever live in, but this is also the easiest time you could ever live in. All times before this were less convenient, harsher in environments. There was no central air or heating that was reliable. Like, you had to work hard to get heating, and there was pretty much no air conditioning except for maybe some shade. Life has always been tough for human beings, and this is probably the least tough era as of yet. And so, of course, humans being humans have to create problems in order to not be bored, to be fulfilled, to feel like they have a purpose. It's ridiculous. I'm not saying we shouldn't fight the good fight and fight for what we believe in and fight to continue to improve the world, because as we all know, the world is run by pedophilic billionaires. That's not good. I'm not saying we shouldn't fight for things to improve. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm also saying that you shouldn't live a life of misery, entitlement, and being ungrateful in the name of being righteous. I don't know what they're doing this in the name of. But welcome to Treu Sovereignty, where we're mastering our minds so we can reclaim our peace. And on this channel, we intertwine critical thinking with self-improvement, because you can't have one without the other, of course. Your inner world reflects your outer world. What's going on in here is going to reflect what's happening out here. So, if you can stay calm in tumultuous situations, you're more likely to just have a better life that way. And we'll get into that a little bit today as well. I kind of try to use that theme in all my videos. But yeah, welcome. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and feel free to join the community. My community is made up of really awesome people. I love them. They're very intelligent human beings with sense of humor and great insight on life, for sure. So check out the channel, see if you like it, and let's get into the video. So I was pretty fortunate to be able to travel the world at what I would consider a young age. In my 20s, I got to travel a lot. And this was because of work and scuba diving. I do scuba diving, so that had me traveling. I also traveled in school, and I also lived in 2 different countries. One was in Europe, and one was in Central America. So I got to experience life outside the USA for a fairly good amount of time, I would say. And that offered me the inside scoop to truly how people outside the USA have to live. And not that these countries are not beautiful. Most countries I've traveled to are third world countries, by the way. You know, even the countries in Europe are difficult to live in. You know, when you're coming from the USA, a place of convenience, a place of everything at your fingertips, you can just get in your car and drive down a road that's paved, and you have air conditioning in your car, and everything is just right at your fingertips. Going from that to even a place like Europe, where things are not so convenient. You can't just pop into any old store and get anything you want. It's not like that. They don't have Targets and Walmarts and ShopRite and grocery stores like that. They just don't. But especially in Central America, where I also resided for a little bit. I just want to say, like, doing things there, you do the same things there that you do here, it's just 10 times harder, 10 times more inconvenient. And life is just harder overall. The rules are different, the rules on the road, the laws are different. Everything is just different. And despite the fact that some of these countries are really beautiful and they have really beautiful areas and they're fantastic to visit, that doesn't mean they're fantastic to live. Now, if you live there all your life, you don't know any different, right? So maybe going from a place like Europe to the United States would be a bit of a culture shock to them, because I would say mostly because of how the USA looks. It's just like big box stores, and it's not that much statuesque beauty as it would be in like Europe or something like that. So that could be maybe a bit of a culture shock for Europeans, or just simply different cultures. Not knowing the languages can be culture shock to some people. But ultimately, traveling gave me the knowledge, that it gave me the insight, it gave me the appreciation for where I come from, for where I was born, for my passport. It made me grateful that I lived in the USA. It really did. And a lot of the time when I was traveling, I would be homesick for the USA. I don't think just because I was born here, but because how everything is set up, how life is just so much easier here. So when we talk about this self-hatred of the West, I find it so ironic, because we all know that the West is the best, you know? Even liberals who hate the United States, they know that it's a better way of life because they want immigrants to come here and have this way of life like we do. They know that the United States is ripe with opportunity and better living conditions. They know this. That's why they want immigrants to come here, because their virtue signaling disguised as empathy is saying just that these immigrants deserve a better life. So it's hypocritical and ironic that they both hate the USA, but yet know they're absolutely incredibly privileged to live here. And I think one of those realizations in privilege and being grateful and having gratitude to be able to live here and be a citizen here is appreciating the work that it takes to get this country to be the well-oiled machine that it is. I'm not saying the United States is perfect in any way, shape, or form, but I gotta say, over the past few years, watching the hatred of my country from people inside my country has really kind of turned me into more of a nationalist than an anarchist, because prior to this I was an anarchist. But now I'm more of like a nationalist, where I don't necessarily think my country's perfect, but I do, like, I think we need improvements, major improvements at that. Not little improvements, major. But I do have love for the land that I live on. And I take pride in the land that I live on. But not only that, I appreciate the work that it takes to make this place a well-oiled machine, whatever it is. Like, people in the oil fields, truckers that have to truck through the night to deliver products that I need, plumbers that fix your plumbing. You don't understand, when you live in Central America, these things are not as well oiled. Like, you call a plumber and they barely fix the issue, if they fix it at all. It's every little thing that is so much more well run in the USA than it is in Latin America. Sorry, Latin Americans. It just is. Things are just so much better here. If you need something fixed here, most likely it'll get fixed. Not all the time, but... So I appreciate the people who actually put in the work and the time to make this country run like it does. You know, one thing that really shocked me during my travels was that I found out that most countries don't have clean drinking water. That's just something I learned when researching the places I would travel before I traveled, and I would be like, whoa, this place doesn't have clean drinking water? Like, I can't brush my teeth, I can't open my mouth in the shower, I gotta be careful at restaurants so I don't get sick. And that really shocked me that, no, most countries do not have clean, accessible drinking water. They have to use bottled water. So that really shocked me there. A little snake. I wonder if it's alive. Ooh, it's alive. Hey, buddy. You okay? Whew. Yeah, that was one of the biggest things that shocked me. Because I was like, oh, it's just a few countries that don't have clean drinking water that you gotta watch out for. No, most of them do not have clean drinking water, and you yourself have to protect yourself if you grew up in a first world country with clean drinking water, because your stomach bacteria is not adjusted to it. And being sick on a vacation is the worst thing in the world, and you want to avoid it at all costs. So, but the self-hatred in the USA reminds me of narcissistic personality disorder. And I'm not talking about narcissistic traits, I'm talking about the actual personality disorder. The personality disorder is at the very core self-hating. Narcissists hate themselves. People with NPD hate themselves. But it is decorated to appear as confidence, to appear as empathy. And it's almost like spraying Febreze on a turd. You can't hide it very well, right? You can't hide the smell. You can't hide how it looks. It's not very efficient. So the left, the liberals, the wokies, whatever you want to call them, are really reflective of narcissists. And the self-hatred, I call it self-hatred because they essentially hate everyone, right? They hate everyone that doesn't agree with them. But what that is a projection. That is what I believe. I believe it is a projection of the self-hatred they feel within themselves. You do not, like, everything in your life is a projection, whether you like to believe it or not. The thoughts you think about others is a projection. Even if the thoughts you think about them are due to their actions, it's still a projection. Because think about it, if someone does something, two people can have two totally different viewpoints on what that person did or the opinion of what that person did. Just look at the Renee Good shooting. Two totally opposing opinions there. One was that ICE killed her, point blank period, cold blood murder. And the other one was that, well, he defended himself because she tried to run over him with her car. It's a projection. You're projecting what you think into the world. Everything comes from the inside. The good, the bad, the ugly. Everything you think about everything you think about reality is technically a projection. That doesn't mean that it's wrong, but here's how you know if your projections are actually harming you and harming your own life. It's if the lens that you have is pure hatred towards everything, or just pure negativity towards everything. Now, me saying, like, okay, the Epstein files and people in the Epstein files, bad. You know, me saying bad, that's bad. That's a projection. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong, Because we could also say that objectively, that is a bad thing. Sex trafficking, child sex trafficking is not a good thing. And I don't support that, so I am projecting that it's not a good thing. But if I were to also project out into the world that white people are bad because slavery happened at one point, or that the USA is stolen land, so therefore everybody should be able to come onto the land, which makes no sense. I mean, think about it. You say we stole the land from Native Americans, so now you want more people to pile onto this land. What? Shouldn't that mean that we preserve the land more for the Native Americans, not pile more fuckers onto the fucking land? Weird. But if I'm just constantly projecting how everything is so wrong with this country, despite the fact that it's probably the best country anybody could ever live, that tells me something about you. And it could tell you something about yourself. That you might have some self-hatred within you. And you're making it seem like you're virtuous, you're righteous. Like, look at me, I'm so good because I hold these specific opinions. And look at you, you're so horrible because you don't hold the same opinions that I do. It's narcissistic, in a sense. And it lines up fairly well with how people with NPD actually are. Most people will meet a narcissist and think that they're so great because what they are putting out into the world is a mask, and that mask might contain empathy, goodness, charm, kindness, confidence, but on the inside they are truly self-hating, and they're doing it as not out of true care and true kindness and true empathy. They're not being that way because they truly feel those things. They're being that way to manipulate you into seeing them that way. Because deep down inside they are deeply insecure, lost. They lack a sense of self. And they need people to see them. They need people to say, oh yeah, you're good. You're great. We love you. Or else in their mind, they just don't exist. So, like protesters who sit in the middle of the road as a blockade to protest what? Climate change, oil, whatever, fossil fuels. They're sitting in the road to be a nuisance because they never got the attention that they needed. They're not getting the attention that they need still to this day. Their lives are not full of purpose and wonder and gratitude. You know, people don't sit in the middle of a road and block people from their lives when they're happy in their own life. People don't sit around and hate other people and wish the destruction of their own country or a group of people like white people. They don't wish the destruction of anything if they are happy people. These people are not happy people. They truly hate themselves. They want the destruction of themselves, if anything. I, as a white person, have never had white guilt, even when I was a liberal. In fact, white guilt kind of made me want to stray away from the Liberal Party. People telling me I should feel white guilt. I was like, no, thank you. I'm not going to feel guilty for who I was born as. And I was also born here. I have a right to be here in my own country, and I have a right to say who I want in my own country. So that's how I look at it. And what do you know, I don't hate myself. I really, really love myself. I've done a lot of healing. I've done a lot of inner work. I've gone to therapy. I've let go of resentment, attachments, anger. And wouldn't you know, that really helps when it comes to self-hatred and self-loathing and anger and resentment issues. It helps you, and at the end of the day, you just want peace. You don't want any of this shit. You don't want to hate everything. You just want peace. So, I love my country. That doesn't mean I'm a Trump lover. But I love my country. I want to preserve my country. I don't think anyone is bad just because of their skin color. I don't hate anybody. But yet, the self-hating liberals call me Nazi, racist, a bigot. It's the weirdest fucking thing. And to me, that's a projection. They call me fascist. And it's like they're the ones that are behaving as Nazis, racists, and fascists and bigots. It's all a projection. That's really all it is. It's their inner world, and they're trying to push it onto everybody else. And it's really not self-aware, it's immature, it's creepy, and I'm worried for my country in that sense, because they're trying to destroy the country. These people think that just because someone's brown, that now all of a sudden they need help. How presumptuous, how condescending. It's such a condescending attitude. Because you're brown, now you need my help as a white person. I think that's disgusting to have that mentality. But not only that, to think that somebody is only immigrating to the USA just to have a better life, and that's it. Not for anything else, not for anything malicious, is also really naive. I think people are inherently bad. Not to say bad as in like everybody's just a piece of shit. I'm trying to speak in a nuanced manner here, and only certain people will understand what I'm trying to say. But if we didn't have laws, for example, people would be doing the worst shit. People would be doing the worst of the worst. Just look at how movies, end of the world movies, portray the end of the world. It's not the zombies doing the killing. It's not the animals doing the killing. It's humans killing each other. That is like the number one cause of death of the characters in the movie or the show. At the end of the day, if a human has the opportunity to be selfish, to steal something, to gain something, and then to get away with it, even if what they're doing is immoral, especially in a moment of survival and need, they will do it. They will do whatever it takes. When there's blackouts, there's looting. So the solution to any of this is regulation, law enforcement, police officers, jail, the threat of jail. And in terms of immigration, it's regulation. So we need regulation, heavy regulation, especially since we are a first world country and most people who want to immigrate here are coming from third world. They have a different set of morals, values, ways of life that just don't mix. I mean, just look at Islam, for example. They don't respect women. They don't respect anybody who decides to live differently than them, pretty much. If you don't live life by the Quran, you are seen as you should die, pretty much. They don't respect the LGBTQ community. Come on now. And yet, liberals look at them, they see that they are brown, they see that they want to come here, and they're just like, yeah, come in, come in, come in. And yet these liberal women will be like, I hate men, men are dangerous, why are men so dangerous? But then they're like, we want dangerous third world men to come into this country. We want the cartel to battle with ICE. Are you sure that's something you want to do? You want to open that can of worms? We want trans women in our bathrooms. I don't get it. They like hate white men, but they love Muslim men who hate women. I don't fucking get it. I don't understand. It's the self-hatred. I was talking to my friend the other day. I'm like, feminism has gone from women empowerment or female empowerment and female rights. It has gone from that to now almost like a female self-hatred. Because it's almost like we're inviting dangerous men into our spaces, and we're allowing men to infiltrate now our spaces, and we're calling it feminism. Really wild stuff to me. It's all backwards. All of this is really backwards. Really odd stuff, folks. Really odd stuff. Another thing the left does that has proven to me a self-hatred is this trend of being trans and wanting to transition, and in turn mutilating their bodies, and then trying to project that onto children and indoctrinate children into this, and then try to get children to mutilate their bodies as well. And it's this self-hatred is like they were born wrong, so now they need to fix it. It's a self-hatred. People who love themselves don't mutilate their bodies. They accept who they are as they are. Do I think all trans people are self-hating? Not necessarily. I think there are like a very, very, very small amount of trans people who are truly trans. And I respect that. But I think most of them have been indoctrinated. And they are a tad self-hating, unfortunately. So don't get it twisted. Because people get things twisted a lot because they don't understand nuance. They say that me pointing out the disturbing behaviors and words of the left and the West is me projecting hate. I don't hate these people. That's the thing. I can disagree with people and still wish them well. That's the difference. It seems that these people have come to the point where if they disagree, they want them hurt or dead. Like, for example, the celebration of the death of Charlie Kirk. Let's just say for a second, Charlie was a horrible, racist, fascist bigot, right? Which he was not. Let's just throw that out there. But let's just say for the sake of argument that he totally was. That still does not justify assassination. It does not. There is nobody on this planet who I think should be assassinated. I have to think there for a second because I'm not a huge fan of child lovers. And part of me does wish death upon them. But that's less of a belief system that I'm disagreeing with and more of like a, they are literally a poison, a cancer to society type of a thing. And I don't believe that they can be fixed. I don't believe they can be healed. I don't believe they can be rehabilitated. I do not believe that. So part of me thinks they either need to be in their own jail, locked away somewhere. And then on the other hand, I wouldn't mind if they all died, unfortunately. That's really the only exception I can say when I'm speaking upon who is really deserving of death in this world. But no, if someone has a certain set of beliefs, I don't think that they should die. Even if those beliefs are akin to Hitler. And no, I'm not saying that I agree with Hitler. Not saying that at all. I mean, yeah, maybe during the time of Hitler, someone should have just taken him out for sure. But just having those beliefs, no. Just through having those beliefs, do I think someone should die? No, not necessarily. Because then we have to have arguments around like who deserves to die and who deserves to live type of a thing. May cut that out of the video. I don't know if I articulated myself well in that one. It's gonna make me sound like I support Hitler, which I do not. Please do not think that I do. I absolutely do not. He's a disgusting human being, absolutely. But simply for having a belief, does one deserve to die? No. If someone orchestrates a giant genocide, do they deserve to die? Yes. Sure. If someone is a pedophile, do they deserve to die? Possibly. Possibly. These are complex topics, you guys, okay? Complex topics. I really don't like playing God. I don't like to do that. I can sit here and say that I want child lovers to die, but I don't want to play the role of God in their death, if that makes any fucking sense. Unless it was my child. than I would. Or a child that I knew. See, there's just so many complexities. There's so many exceptions. But for liberals, it's like, you disagree with me on trans people? You deserve to die. It's like, god damn. Absolutely no nuance. Just die. And that's what makes Charlie Kirk's assassination and then the celebration of his assassination a shock, because he wasn't racist, fascist, or bigoted at all. So people just think that he was. The stupid people think that he was. And then they think that justifies his death. And even if he was, it does not justify his death. But his death definitely wasn't justified because he wasn't those things. Period. But yeah, so my pointing out the left's disturbing behavior and words and actions is literally just me saying, I recognize that they have a mental illness and I'm pointing it out. It's not me hating them. It's me almost holding two opposing truths. Like, yes, these people are mentally disturbed. Their actions, their words, they deserve to have consequences, whether that's jail or being fired from their job or something of that nature. They need to learn a lesson of some sort for what they are doing. But I also can empathize and understand that they're disturbed. They hate themselves. They're mentally ill and they need help. And that's the difference between me and a self-hating, woke Westerner who hates living in the best country in the world. Makes no sense to me why they hate living in the best country in the world. Just simply because it's not perfect. I think we have to realize, folks, that life is never going to be perfect. There's always going to be dark truths in life. Life is never going to be like rainbows and sunshine. That's not life. That's not the purpose of life. Unfortunately, even if we did kill child lovers, there would still be more. You can't get rid of all the bad people. You just can't. There will always be more. And I think if we accept that, I think you'd be a lot happier if you just accepted that bad people exist and bad things exist. But don't destroy something if it's good. Because what we have here in this country is pretty good. I mean, look at where I am. Beautiful nature. I get to speak my mind on a camera and upload it to the internet and have people watch. I mean, that's freedom, baby. That is freedom. I get to eat. I have a roof over my head. We live a life of privilege, and I think the issue there is that people are bored, they lack purpose, they hate themselves, and so they try to find problems. And it's poisoning society. It's just poisoning society, unfortunately. And then social media stirs it all up like like we're making dough. It just stirs it all up and makes it worse. Social media inflames the problems that are already there in society because it gets people to watch others that can agree with them or can indoctrinate them into their own ideologies. And it gets them all hyped up. It gets them angrier than they were prior to that. It's a disease. So how can we combat this? There's not a lot in this world we can control externally. So my advice is always work on yourself. Just continue to work on yourself. Be a better person every day. Treat people with kindness. Treat yourself with kindness. Work on yourself inside and out. Don't hate yourself, because if you hate yourself, you hate everything else around you, and you project hate into the world. Try to figure out ways to project love into the world. Ignore people trying to cancel you. Ignore people who try to say that you're bad for certain opinions that you hold. Ignore those fuckers. This channel is about how your inner world reflects your outer world. Understanding yourself so you can understand everything else around you. So continue to do that. The more you work on yourself, the better your outer reality will be. It might take a little bit of time for your outer reality to catch up to your inner reality. Typically, your inner reality will change before your outer reality can ever catch up. It might even take years at times. So also be patient. Things don't just change overnight. Things change over time. So just keep being authentic, never be fake, never apologize for being yourself or having opinions. Never let people gaslight you into thinking that you're a bad person because you hold a certain opinion. It's ridiculous. The best thing that I've noticed that works with these types of people, these self-hating, wokey lefties, is just ignoring them. Not letting them bully you, not letting it affect you at all. That's what I've been doing. Just not letting it affect you. Just being so confident in yourself and your worldview and how you look at life that nothing else can really affect you. And being grateful. Being grateful for the people who are hardworking, who make this country work like a well-oiled machine. Being grateful for where you live. If you live in a nice place, if you live in a good country, be grateful for that. That's a privilege. That is a privilege. Being grateful for the little things. If you got to eat today, if you have a roof over your head, if you have clothes that are pretty okay on your back, if you have love in your life, any type of love, familial, friendship, animals, being grateful for that. If you have any type of money in the bank, even if it's $1, just be grateful for it. Just be grateful about life. It's the small things that matter the most. If ever I'm feeling like really upset about something or really sad about something or down about something, I just try to find a little piece of something that I can be grateful for within that. You know, I'll just give one example and then I'll stop talking. It's like, even if someone dies, thinking like they're not suffering any longer, they're in a better place, something like that. That's an extreme example, but you can do that with anything. You can change your perspective with anything. So, hope you enjoyed what I had to say about the West hating itself. Ungrateful, unrealistic, entitled brats, as I like to say. And I hope you come back and join me for more next time. But until next time, I'll see you in the next video.